All hell is breaking loose as Donald Trump's catastrophic and disastrous war in Iran is suddenly escalating even more after Donald Trump claimed that there would be 5 days of relative peace after having what he described as productive conversations with Iranian leaders to potentially create a joint venture deal where Donald Trump and the Ayatollah would control the Strait of Hormuz together. Iran mocked that, said, we're not having any conversations with you. And then last night, Donald Trump and Netanyahu started bombing energy infrastructure within Iran. Iran responded, retaliating against Kuwait. I'll talk about that in a moment. And now we have United States 4-star general, former defense secretary, an individual who has massive experience in the Middle East. General Mattis says Iran right now, if we declared victory and just left, they would say we own the Strait of Hormuz. You'd see a tax for every ship that goes through. We're in a tough spot, ladies and gentlemen. I can't identify a lot of options. And when General Mattis is saying he can't identify a lot of options, that is a big, big problem, especially when we're seeing headlines like this flood in. Hormuz fertilizer block by Iran will upend the world's food supply. We're, of course, talking about crude and oil shipments that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, and that's why we're seeing the price of crude skyrocket right now, even as Donald Trump tried to manipulate the markets yesterday. We should also be talking about LNG, liquefied natural gas, and LNG is about to run out in the Middle East. Let me repeat that. Liquefied natural gas is like 8 days from running out in the Middle East. That will be catastrophic. Also, in the Middle East, it's one of the main sources of fertilizer. Thus, American farmers, frankly, farmers across the world are suffering, and our farmers need a bailout right now after the Trump regime bailed them out before as well, based on Donald Trump's trade war against the world. We also don't talk enough about helium and other types of things that go into devices like MRIs. Good luck trying to get an MRI when you don't have some of the underlying components. And folks, even if the war were to end tomorrow, and as I mentioned, things are escalating, so it ain't gonna end tomorrow, okay? It's going to get worse and worse, especially as we know that the Trump regime is sending in thousands of forces, Marine Expeditionary Units, USS Tripoli from Japan, the 82nd Airborne from Fort Bragg, including the elite paratrooper division there, the USS Boxer, Marine Expeditionary Units, thousands of troops flooding in for a potential ground invasion. But even if the war ended tomorrow, the shock to the oil supply, the shock to the food supply would be very, very severe when everything's settled. And it ain't ending tomorrow. So things are just going to get worse and worse. It's what I've been warning about. Worst case scenario. So in the meantime, China is kind of standing back and standing by as China's leaders hunt for strategic gains from the U.S. quagmire in Iran. China has cut some deals with Iran where Chinese ships can enter the Strait of Hormuz. They can pay the toll fee to Iran, bring their oil to China, and who knows? Are they bringing component parts for Shahed drones, for ballistic missiles? You can guess. You can decide. I'll raise the question. Meanwhile, Qatar Airways has now sent 20 of its largest aircraft. By the way, Financial Times headlines I'm reading for you. Qatar Airways has sent 20 of its largest aircraft to a site used for long-term storage in a sign that the airline is preparing for months of disruption across the Gulf. Just think about the decades and decades it took to build up a lot of these Middle East nations, whether it's Qatar, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, turning areas into tourist centers. Ain't nobody visiting. Dubai is dead. Abu Dhabi is dead. Say goodbye to your tourism. Say goodbye to businesses moving. Who the hell is going to go there right now when we know that at any point in time, it could be engulfed in this type of war? All the work they've done, all the quid pro quos, all the pay for plays, getting Donald Trump the airplanes and the Trump businesses and the Trump hotels. What just happened to you is what happened to Donald Trump's lenders, Donald Trump's contractors, when Donald Trump bankrupted company after company after company with his daddy's money, and now he's doing it with the United States. But if you want to know where Donald Trump's priorities are right now, while he is destroying the United States alliances and power abroad, well, Donald Trump is putting videos of himself out there in Hungary CPAC to try to help Viktor Orban stay in power there, where the pro-democracy coalition is set to beat Orban, which would be a massive blow to Putin in Hungary coming up. You have Donald Trump inviting Belarus's leader, Lukashenko, to the White House to discuss a, quote, big deal as the Trump regime removes massive sanctions against banks and major companies in Belarus. But Donald Trump is threatening the European Union with removing favorable access provisions to the United States liquefied natural gas. Europe gets a lot of their LNG from the Middle East. The Middle East LNG is now, as I said earlier, being destroyed. So America LNG will become in higher demand. It will also be more costly. So Trump, like the mafia boss he is, or the wannabe mafia boss that he is now threatening Europe. If you don't agree to my trade deal terms, my 15% tariffs on you, you will lose favorable access to the United States LNG. So when the United States needs Europe right now to help without Donald Trump giving any notice to our allies, Donald Trump continues to attack Europe, continues to attack our allies, continues to attack Zelensky, continues to prop up Putin and Iran. Iran had these sanctions lifted against its oil. Iran's made billions of dollars as a result of this war so far. And Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz with an iron fist right now, which it didn't do before. Take a look at what Trita Parsi writes. Energy Insider in Iran is telling him the following, and it's stunning. Before the war, Iran produced just shy of 1.1 million barrels of oil per day and sold it at $65 per barrel minus an $18 discount. Today, it produces 1.5 million barrels a day and sells it at $110 with only a $2 to $4 discount. And this does not include petrochemical sales that not only have increased, but are now being sold to a larger set of customers compared to before the war. Moreover, Iran is receiving payments through which new mechanisms that bypass the UAE, which were set up after the June war. In essence, and this is really important to understand, Trump and Israel's war has ended up delivering Iran de facto sanctions relief. This means that Iran is all the less incentivized to end the war unless the agreement provides it with formal sanctions relief. And Iran is now dictating the terms of an American surrender. And Iran is saying, we want full reparations. We want to be able to produce the weapons that we want to be able to produce. We want security guarantees that the United States and Israel can't just attack us again like this. And we want an acknowledgement and an apology by the United States and Israel. And we want your bases out of the Middle East. That's where Iran is right now in these negotiations. Whereas before, as the foreign minister of Oman, who the U.S. picked to be the mediator, stated that Iran was willing to enter into a deal to get rid of all of its enriched uranium. And it was a stronger deal than Obama's deal even. Trump blew it, then literally blew it up, and then blew up the United States. It again is so utterly despicable. Meanwhile, President Zelensky of Ukraine put out the following report yesterday. Report by Chief of Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, Ola Evashenko. First, we have irrefutable evidence that the Russians continue to provide intelligence to the Iranian regime. Russia is using its own signals intelligence and electronic intelligence capabilities, as well as part of the data obtained through cooperation with partners in the Middle East. Second, the defense intelligence of Ukraine regularly provides assessments of the situation on the front lines, as well as internal Russian information regarding activity on the battlefield. The Russian command constantly seeks to exaggerate the achievements of Russian forces on the front lines and subsequently use such inflated data from the headquarters of the Russian occupation contingent grouping in the negotiation process. Third, we have clear information that Russia is planning further deployment of ground-based control stations for long-range UAVs in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, as well as 4 stations in Belarus. We will respond accordingly. I have instructed Ola Ivanchenko to inform partners and media representatives about the data that we can make public. Just think about this. As Zelensky is helping the United States with drone interceptors and the know-how of how to strike down these Shaheds, these Iranian drones and ballistic missiles, since Ukraine has developed this incredible wealth of knowledge of how to do it, as Zelensky's also been helping Netanyahu, you have Trump and Netanyahu endorsing Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban continues to threaten Zelensky and has worked with Putin to wipe out Ukraine, essentially, and Netanyahu and Trump endorsing Orban at Hungary CPAC over the past 48 hours. Then Donald Trump inviting the authoritarian leader of Belarus, Lukashenko, to do a big deal with the United States in Mar-a-Lago, and this again follows the Russians speaking with Witkoff and Kushner about doing deals together while Russia is out there providing the intelligence to Iran to kill Americans and to target American assets. Zelensky also posts the following message. There is growing evidence that the Russians continue to provide the Iranian regime with intelligence support. This is clearly destructive activity and it must be stopped as it only leads to further destabilization. All decent states are interested in guaranteeing security and preventing a larger crisis. Markets are already reacting negatively, and this is significantly complicating the fuel situations in many countries. By helping the Iranian regime stay afloat and strike more accurately, Russia is effectively prolonging the war. There must be a response. Like, what the hell are you doing? And we shouldn't forget what's happening in Ukraine, right? Kharkiv, explosions. Zaporizhia, explosions. As Kate from Kharkiv writes, Russian bastards are fighting apartment buildings and sleeping families. They're just attacking innocent families, sleeping in their apartment buildings, just trying to kill civilians. Ukraine is fighting back. Take a look at this satellite imagery of the Primorsk port showing several storage tanks on fire in Russia. The Primorsk port is Russia's largest oil loading terminal on the Baltic Sea. Located in the Leningrad region, it specializes in the export of crude oil and petroleum products right there. So Zelensky striking back. Finally, let's talk about what the Trump regime is saying behind the scenes. U.S. officials are telling the Washington Post they no longer believe it is possible to achieve the war's original goals of overthrowing the Iranian regime and putting its nuclear program permanently out of reach. Instead, it is the goal right now to just simply secure the Strait of Hormuz, a problem created by the unlawful, disastrous invasion in the first place. A senior Iranian official, Moshen Reza, says if you strike our infrastructure, it will no longer be an eye for an eye. It will be to cripple you. It will be a head for your eye. You will be crippled. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un posting photographs of himself by massive ballistic missiles that look like they could contain nuclear weapons and saying North Korea's status as a nuclear power is irreversible. Turkish sources are telling Al Monitor that the U.S. is asking for talks between Vance and Iran's parliamentary leader Ghalibaf, where Turkey could be an intermediary, but Iran is yet to respond and has no interest in responding. And as I said at the outset, things are escalating very, very quickly. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you as always.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.